Hi everyone, welcome to Sharks TV. For a really special episode this week, we've got two Sharks favourites joining us. We've got Struan Tonnar, our captain, and Scott Henderson joining us, and it's a little bit different. We've got the fans to ask some questions, so we've had a good number of questions in, so we'll get on to that shortly. So guys, how's it been? What's been happening in the last wee while since you've been in lockdown?
You go first, Scotty.
Not really much, to be honest. I'm still studying at uni, so I've been forced to move home basically and just try and do all my studies online. So it's just doing what I can at the moment anyway.
What are you studying at uni?
Brewing and distilling.
Brewing and distilling?
Yeah.
Superb. I'll talk to you about homebrew at some point. I do a bit of that myself. Struan, how's you been?
I've been all right. Same boat everyone else is in. I've been able to keep working. I've been kind of dotted about a few different roles. And other than that, just try to keep myself busy, kind of taking up some cycling, try to take in the sights that Dumfries have. I think we take for granted what we have on our doorstep. I think people are quick to judge. It's a tough situation, but equally for every cloud there is a silver lining, and I think for us down in Dumfries, it's definitely our coastal lines and our forests, and we're really lucky to live here. So it's been helpful.
There's worse places to be in lockdown, that's for sure, isn't there?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. My sister bought a one-bed flat in Edinburgh, and it must be challenging for those people that she has a bit of garden space, thankfully, but you just think of all these people in high-rise flats and stuff, and you just think, God, how tough that must have been for the last 18 months and however long we're going into this as well.
Absolutely. Right, well, let's get on to some hockey questions. Some people wanted their names shouted out as they had the questions. A lot of people didn't, but I'll start with the ones that probably didn't want their names shouted out. So the first question was, how many game sticks do you go through in a year? And do you have a favourite stick?
I have a favourite stick, but they stopped making it 10 years ago. I think probably I only go about 2 or 3, and it's one of those things. I think once you find a stick you like, you'd rather you kept it than it snapped and you got a new one every week. It's tough on the club that have to, or don't have to, but they're kind enough to support us and give us sticks so it doesn't cost us so much. So it's try not to snap them, but when it does happen, I'd rather have an old stick than a brand new one, that's for sure. Maybe Scott, with the new generation of hockey, has a totally different opinion on it than me, but...
Nah, I'd probably go through... I mean, it varies. There's been years where I've gone through 5 or 6 and years where I've gone through 2 or 3. But I'm the same. I have my favourite stick, they stopped making it maybe 5 years ago now. I'm the same though. I'd rather just have a stick that I like and stick with it instead of having to try and chop and change it all the time.
Sticks get to a really good just before they're about to break. That's when they're at their best, and you know that they've got good flex. The puck's just coming off perfectly, and when you know you're handling the puck and the passes are perfect and you're shooting well, you think, great, I've got a week left of this and it's about to give up. And that's probably the hardest moment throughout the season.
Really?
Oh yeah, new sticks suck. Like, there's nothing better than when you get to that point where it's nice. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what to compare it to, but yeah, it's definitely it's a thing. When it feels good, it's about to go.
Scott, you noticed that as well?
Yeah, I'd say so. It's just when you've got it pretty much broken in. Like any other bit of kit, you can break in a stick, and it just seems to be, once you have it broken in, then it breaks.
Yeah, breaking into it. It doesn't last long when it's broken in.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So what about skates? That was the next question. Do you get a whole season out of a pair of skates? Again, what's your favourites?
I would tend to get 3 or 4 years out of them. They cost too much money to be going through them every year. I got lucky last year. I got a deal on a pair of 2 seasons ago top model that were a couple £100, but they don't make enough advancements from season to season to notice a top pair of skates. So I don't see the need to till you get in them. Hey, if somebody's get by them for you and you get to wear them, great. But I've spent most of my career in Bowers, but then I started my career in CCMs, and it's been the last pair of skates that are CCMs that I've got now, and I kind of wonder why I ever stepped away from them. But it's sometimes you notice a difference, and some people are like, nope, has to be Bauer, has to be this, has to be that. I don't. I'll skate whoever's at the right price and whoever's comfortable in the feet, because you spend a lot of time wearing them.
Yeah, for sure. Scott?
Yeah, I'm the same. I basically just have my skates until they're done. Yeah, dude. No, last pair of skates I've had 3 or 4 years now, and that was they basically, I could have got them re-riveted, but the guys at Hollywood Trust were nice enough to help me out, and I managed to get a new pair of skates. Before that, I stuck with Bauer usually. I tried going across to CCM once, and because I'd been used to Bauer basically my whole playing career, I've never, as soon as I went to CCM, I felt the difference. I didn't like them. So I got rid of the CCMs and got a pair of Bauers, and I've had them for years now. And now I've got the new True skates. So I managed to get them at the end of last season, and just as we went into lockdown, so I've had them on once.
Well, you know that Struan's looking for a cheap pair of skates, and he likes CCMs. If he's got the same feet size as you, there's a deal to be made here.
Oh yeah,
I'll wear them, no problem.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Who's your hardest opponent? Who is it that you kind of not dread coming up against, maybe you even relish coming up against, but who's your hardest opponent in the regular season?
See, I'd started thinking throughout my career. So I was going along the lines of, we used to play back when we played in the Premier League, and we used to play the likes of Plusey and Connaboy and these players from Paisley and the Dundee area, where they'd come down from the B&L, and I would have just been a late teenager, and the step up to that level was crazy, and it was good physical hockey. It wasn't cheap. They were the teams. I don't think I've really felt that in a wee while, as far as toughness go. And then I'd also, the question I suppose, if we're talking skill wise, like I think the hardest players we ever played was when we get these chances to play the GB teams. And we used to do it kind of more a few years back, where we would be the kind of trial team before they go to the World Championships, and we'd end up playing against all these teams that are now playing in the Elite League, and you get to see all this young talent coming through. So they were probably the toughest players to play skill-wise, because they're young and they're hungry, and they just want to go, and they've got hands and they're fast. And I think they were the ones I usually dreaded, thinking I've got these 16, 17-year-olds flying about at me, and they sucked.
Do you think when you were saying you were right at the start, the hardest players you played against when you were 18, 19 yourself, do you think that's because you were still developing as a player then and they were at their peak? Or do you think they were just at a level above completely?
I think there's a bit of both. Like, I wouldn't say they're a level above. They were definitely also the experience they had, and they were probably thinking what I was thinking about the GB players. Like, I had a many young kids skating about, they hated playing against me. When I decided to, I could skate when I was younger. So I don't know. Maybe it's just perception. Like, I was younger and was looking at these older guys and think, God, how am I going to deal against them? But they were some good games. I mean, I know it was said back in the day we used to always play Dundee and Fife every weekend, but looking back at them, they were probably some of the best hockey Dumfries had in a while, until the kind of more recent era when we were playing your Steel Dogs and your Pirates and stuff.
Yeah. Great. Scott, what about yourself?
Mine would probably be same as Struan, like coming into the league, but then recently it'll be when I've had the chance to go up and play with the clan and have a chance with them. It's just the actual jump across is just unreal. You've got a completely different role to play. They play a completely different style, and it's just trying to adapt the game to their skill level and all that. It's really difficult to do. So I'd probably say whenever I've done that, just because of the gap, the gap in skill level and the different style to play.
I've seen you play at the clan. You didn't look out of place there at all, sir. So it's a lot faster. I mean, you can see that they're at it a lot. There's a big press on most of the time, but you performed really well when I saw you in the club with the clan.
Yeah, it was even just the likes of training with them. You get to see there as well. It's not even so much the boys you play against. It's the boys that you're playing with, and you get to see how they play. It's just a different level.
Great. Well, here's hoping you get more experiences like that in your future. What about the matches you kind of most look forward to in a season? Obviously, we played SNL and NIHL last year, but what matches do you really get a kick out of?
Last season, I think I heard Jamie say it on his interview, and he's probably right. Like, I think in Murrayfield games, they were probably the most exciting. And there's that. It's crazy how new team, we hadn't played an Edinburgh team in years. In the time I played for the Sharks, I don't remember the last time. It was 10 years, I think, before the Sharks played an Edinburgh team. And then all of a sudden the Racers came on, and there was just that kind of instant rivalry. We were the scalp, they knew who we were, they wanted to beat us, and their hunger obviously proved that. Cup semi-final, and they were a good team. I enjoyed those games. I mean, that Murrayfield ice rink, I don't know if fans appreciate the difference in the size and the shapes of rinks, the changes you go up and down. That's how you have such a big advantage in your home rink. You're used to it, but you were skating up in Murrayfield, and there's an extra 1.5 meters width to play with, and you've got maybe not so much Scott. It's probably great for Scott because he could open his legs up really, but I was 30. I'm trying to skate an extra 1.5 meters against these 18-year-olds that are just buzzing. So God knows how Horny felt, who had a couple of years even on me and some of the older boys. But I think it's hard to not say Murrayfield. Obviously, Whitley kind of gave us our best games, or some of our best games as well. We played really well at the start of the year. We took them as an underdog. There was no two ways about it. Who we lost and who they kept, and the momentum they had. They had a decent run at the playoffs the year before, and I think whether they overestimated us or underestimated us, who knows? But we obviously managed to scout them a couple of times in their own barn. They were great games, and then towards the end of the year, they obviously kind of had our number, and it would have proved to be a point in the playoffs to see how they coped under the pressure of being the big dogs. And obviously we were a young and relatively inexperienced team, so they were blank pages ready to be written, and it's a shame it ended how it did.
Yeah, I mean, the Murrayfield games were great, and actually being in Murrayfield was super as well. The one that really surprised me was up in Aberdeen. I was really surprised how many fans were in the Aberdeen arena, and they're just that little bit far away, but there was a lot of people at the hockey in Aberdeen.
I think it shows how much hockey isn't dead in Scotland.
Totally.
You look how decisions are made, and it seems like there's not really a huge care or anything north of Sheffield. Nobody cares that we've got this, but clearly there's a fan base. But you don't even look at the Elite League. Then you've got Aberdeen, who are averaging 1,000 fans. They've got nothing else to do up in Aberdeen. They're coming in and creating an atmosphere up there. Again, you're right. It's a shame that they're an extra hour and a bit, 2 hours past the Central Belt, because if you threw in the likes of them and a Murrayfield, and you look at Dundee Tigers had a decent squad. There's potential there for it to be a decent Northern Scottish league. It's just a shame that the SNL there's a gap. There's a gap between the top and the bottom, and it's how we managed to, well, not we, the governing bodies have that issue. Like, how do they bring these teams up, and how do they develop the young players coming through so that there is more competitive games and hockey north of Sheffield exists?
Absolutely. You're talking about the different shapes and sizes of rinks. I mean, going to Kilmarnock, that I couldn't quite believe what I saw in Kilmarnock, but they're doing the best they can. So fair play to them. But yeah, anyway, Scotty, what about your the teams you look forward to playing?
Tough to agree really with Struan. Like you said, Murrayfield, that rivalry was born straight away. They came into the game wanting to take us down, and we wanted to prove a point to them. They were always good games, always competitive games, and I thought the atmosphere was unreal. It was never a boring game with them. They were always close games, and it kept us going. Even like the semi-final where we lost, it was a really close game, and it was one that, like, there was a few games you could have said throughout the year that you could lose interest in, but with every game in Murrayfield, it was just full, like, competitive the entire way through. And it's the same really with Whitley, like the same thing. We had that kind of rivalry with them, that coming into the year they thought they had us from who we'd lost and how young a team we were. We went out and proved the point for the first couple of games, and then it just became really, really fun to play them as well, especially in their rink, because you're going in there and you're hated. You're absolutely hated in there, but you thrive off of that, and you just have fun playing, really. And like Struan said, we kind of struggled a bit towards the end of the season, and they picked the league, but we were ready for playoffs, ready to prove a point again to them.
Great. Thanks for that. The next question that someone sent in is your shirt numbers. Is there a particular reason why you've chosen your numbers?
My story is, I can't remember why, but it was a point we were picking numbers. For some reason, I wanted 21. I don't know if that's because Rooster, the captain of the Sharks at the time, wore 21. I honestly don't know, but somebody beat me to it. So I was like, what's the next number from 21? What would look similar? And yeah, somehow I landed on 51. So unfortunately, there's no reason. I've had a few numbers over the years. I was 3 for a while. I think it's one of those numbers was left lying, and here as a young kid there you go. And 17 for a bit as well. And yeah, so just kind of stuck with 51. It's the one I kind of preferred. Nobody else had it. It was unique. It was one of kind of those numbers that nobody really had. Like, it wasn't a popular number at the time. So yeah, here we are.
You're making it popular now. Great.
I'll take that.
Scott?
With mine, when I first came into the juniors, first started playing hockey, I went with number 98 because I was born in 1998. Just right. Simple choice. And then when I went to take my first steps into senior hockey, there was, throughout juniors and stuff, I'd always had people saying to me, like, 98, you just want to be close to Gretzky, you want to be close to 99. So I thought, I can't go into senior hockey with people saying that to me. I can't go in with number 98. It took me ages to pick it going into senior hockey, actually, and I ended up just flipping it around, so it was 89.
98 is a number.
See, I couldn't deal with that, so I had to flip it.
Yeah, you got enough banter off your teammates for the opposition, eh? Here's another question. What is the best away rink to win man of the match on?
I don't win man of the match, so I don't know. Scott, you can answer that.
I don't even know. Can't remember last time I won man of the match.
I mean, I suppose you have to go into the big atmospheres. So it's the Whitleys, the Murrayfields again. Bellingham's good because the fans are on you. Blackburn, those kind of rinks. Like, man of the match isn't as big a thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think many people really get, like, a lot of the time there's almost disagreement as well with the players, think, who gets it. I think that's where there's a different perception between what the fans see and what they appreciate to be worthy, and then what the players inside the dressing room think. So I think what's more valuable is we used to have a couple of awards we did within the team at the end of the game. So we used to do what was called the Hut Hero, and shout out to Chrissy Ray and Mark Gallagher when I started this one. We ended up in Blackpool when they were in the league, and if you thought Kilmarnock was bad, wait till you're playing on the pier, or not the pier, but the front of Blackpool, and that was Brent Rusty managed to score in because it was as narrow as it was wide. It was horrendous. But we ended up in Pizza Hut after it before we came up, and God knows why Pizza Hut have a Hut Hero, but they had a wee trophy for it, and somehow it ended up back on the bus. And for years within the team, we awarded a Hut Hero who was best player. So if you won it the week before, you then got to hand out. So it's the same kind of thing you see in the NHL. They have like cowboy hats and WWE belts and stuff. And for a long time, we had the Hut Hero. So that meant more than a man of the match that was awarded by sponsors and fans. It means more coming from your peers within the room. No, it doesn't mean a lot of man of the match. I don't want to put that down.
There's a lot of disagreement. There's a lot of disagreement with fans, man of the match. There's weeks you see it, and it's like sometimes it's your favourite player. I mean, I get that people will pick their favourite players, but if you're looking at the match, I don't think it's very often that probably less than 50%. I agree with the man of the match, but you know what? Team game. That's how it is.
You're allowed your opinions.
Scott, you got any? Sorry.
I said you're allowed opinions, aren't you?
Yeah.
I think it's the same. Like, I wouldn't really pick a favourite rink to get man of the match. You could pick. I'd probably say the likes of what Struan had said with Whitley and Blackburn being with the atmosphere of actually playing the game, and agree with them as well with the in-team awards that kind of they mean something different as well, because you could go out and get a hat trick and get man of the match, but it's with the in-team awards, it's what you do, that it's not big and flashy. It could be a big block shot, it could be a big back check, just something like that, but you know that it's not something that every fan's going to pick up on, but you know it means something to your team.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Totally agree.
We'll need to make sure that you get man of the match sometime when you're playing for the clan, Scott. That'd be pretty cool getting that there. This is kind of similar question. We've maybe touched on this a little bit. It's what's the best atmosphere you've ever played in?
Well, I would probably have to go back. I mean, there's a few games that really you could pick out. Like, there's been games in Whitley, obviously, in the last few years, in the Murrayfields. Blackburn, when they were when they first took the league off us, then they filled that place and it was packed. And it really annoys me that they can't keep the fans coming in, because Blackburn, when it's full, is crazy and it's a huge boost for British ice hockey. There was games in Ireland when we used to play in the Celtic League, and we played the Latvian Hawks, they were called, and I think there was 2 British guys in the whole team, and the rest were like Latvian imports. But the league allowed it just to allow them to have a team. But all their families and that were in the stands, and they were just so passionate. And like at one point, the stands were over the bench, and me, Chrissy Ray, and Spud nearly fell victim to somebody throwing a bin over. Like, they threw the bin over the stand into the bench. They were throwing chips and coins at the referees. Crazy. And like there's a list. The Scotland games, like when I was younger playing, we used to play before the Elite League final down in Nottingham. Like, some of those games were crazy. Good atmosphere. I don't think you can narrow it down, especially when you've been playing as long as I have.
It's great. Scott, what about yourself?
Yeah, it's like Struan said, like Whitley, Blackburn, those kind of places, Murrayfield, obviously, with the games that we had, the atmosphere there. And I felt, especially this season, when we had all our games with Murrayfield, you went up there and you almost didn't feel like the away team because we had so many fans travelling. You felt the support behind you, and it really did give you a big boost as well. Like going into an away rink and not feeling like an away team is huge. But like Struan said as well, the Scotland England, we played our Scotland England 19s games before the conference tournament. The first year I was in 19s, we went to penalty shots with them, and just coming that close with them as well, and just because we'd built up, there'd been a lot of training before it. It built up, and just the atmosphere on the night, and then coming so close as well. The way that the game went as well was unreal. We've also got was it last year or the year before when I went away with the GB University team? We went to Russia. They nationally televised the games. They sold out the rink for games that we were playing in. And because we were playing against the likes of Canada, Kazakhstan, Russia, US, and Sweden as well, that we were obviously GB going in, we're underdogs. And basically, if the Russians didn't have their team to cheer for, they were going for the underdogs. So we had the full support of the crowd. It was unbelievable.
That sounds great.
I've got one, and Scott might remember this because if memory serves correct, he was in the stands with his mum and dad and sister, and it was when we first won the Northern League in Fife, and again it was one of those things that we had. It was set up. It was the last game of the season. We just had to win. Whoever came on top won the league. It was between us and Fife. It went to overtime, and I can't remember who'll take credit. It was either Galley or Spud. But before overtime started, when we were on the bench, we started quacking like the Mighty Ducks, and it just shot all tension. Everybody relaxed, and we ended up, was it Pavel or Jan got the winner? We won, and then that was the first league we'd kind of won in a long time in the Sharks, and we had a huge travelling support. But Fife in those days, there was no elite league flyers at this time. It was just like they were selling it to school kids to get them in, and the place was packed. So I think that would probably be the best atmosphere.
Yeah, I was there for that one.
Yeah,
watching in the stands.
That's great. Thanks for that. Right, this next one's a wee bit different. If there was no hockey, what team sports would you play?
I'd probably be a rugby player, only because it's the only other sport I played when I was at school, and it was just school team. I never went to the Saints or anything. It was just there was a big rugby following at my school. Our PE teacher was coach at the club, and a lot of the young guys my age played for the Saints, the Steels and the Millers. The younger Steel lad, he was younger than me. I never played with him, but he's now made the reserve team for the Scotland squad that are going up against England at the weekend. So, credit to them. Like they were a rugby family. They loved it, and it's good to see young Scott kind of getting that call up. So I'd probably be rugby. It wouldn't be very good. I don't like getting hit, but
you're not the one hitting other folks, surely.
Just because they can't get round me.
Scott, what about yourself? Team sport?
Probably the same, to be honest. I've never been a fan of football, really. I've had a kick about with my mates and stuff, but never really been interested in teams or anything like that. I've never had an interest in actually playing it properly. So probably growing up, probably would have been rugby, just with like the popularity of it around Dumfries, and just really so that I wasn't playing football.
Aye. No problem. Thanks for that. Good atmosphere at the rugby.
Yeah, Saturday afternoons used to be. It used to like I never used to be able to catch a game. Like I used to get the first half, or if for some reason we had a Saturday off, me and Ross McMeekin, my friend who used to play. We used to go and watch the rugby in the afternoon, and it was a great laugh. Like it's a shame that I always thought rugby fans and hockey fans would have been very similar, and it should have worked perfectly. They should have went to the rugby, found a pint, and then an hour later, after their game finishing, we'd have been facing off. I always thought there should have been more of a link there. Maybe, who knows, maybe in the future it'll happen, but
yeah. Okay, thanks for that. Here's an interesting one. What Shark from the past would you like to bring back into the current team, and why?
There's a list, but I'd have it'd be a toss up between Galley and Chalmers. I never got to play a huge amount with Chalmers, but when I did, man, it was frightening. Like the way he's seen the game and stuff. And I was just a kid, and I remember once we ended up going on a 2-0 against an old Dundee Tigers team, and he had the puck going down wide, and I thought, he's got it, this is a goal, no bother. And I was just skating towards the net with my stick on the ice, because it's just what you were told to do when you were a kid. I had no anticipation, and next thing I know, he's bounced the stick off, or the puck off my stick, and it's went in. Because he's froze the goalie, passed it to me, I've not even realised that it's bounced off my stick and went in. But he could just do that. So I'd love to have seen him younger. I feel like that's the toughest part of the generation, is that these players that played a while ago, like, it wasn't televised, it wasn't big, the camera quality wasn't there, you never got to see these things, stats weren't included, but that'd be really interesting to see. But I did play more with Galley, and man, he just never stopped. Like, people, maybe newer Sharks fans, will think of Murray as a bit of a energizer bunny, but nah, like, until you see Galley on the ice, like, that guy just didn't stop. I don't know what was wrong with him. Like, he just had to move, and if he didn't give 100%, he wasn't there, because it's just all he could do. And he is, it kind of comes back to that hot hero thing. Like, he must have won that more than anybody, because the little things he used to do were just huge, but they weren't the flashy things. They were never the flashy things. So yeah, I couldn't pick, but it would be one of those two, I think.
Good. That's good stories. Thank you. Scott?
Probably for me, it would have been either Galley or Corey Telfer. Just from when I was younger, growing up watching them, they were two of my favourite players. Galley, just seeing him play, like Struan said, never stopped, did all the little things, and he just, from what I saw being a little kid, being a fan, he just looked like an unreal leader, just would do anything for the boys as well. Corey Telfer, he was quite friendly with my family, but just from coming to the hockey and stuff, and just, I would have quite liked the chance to actually play with both of them. But I never got the chance to play with either of them. Just growing up watching them would have been nice to have the chance.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for that. Right, we're on to the next one. Got about 5 more questions left. This one was from Holly, and Holly wanted to know, she asked this Struan, but we'll ask it to both of you. Holly said, what was the first game that you played for the Sharks, and how did it feel?
My first game was against a Scotland team. I was 15, and it was like a Friday night or something, or Saturday night, like kind of pre-season. I don't even know if it was pre-season. God, don't ask me dates on anything. But we played a Scotland team, and it was me and another guy my age, kind of our first call-ups, because there was nothing writing on it, so they just gave us a chance. We were at that age, we were kind of breaking through, and that was my first game, although it wasn't an official game. My official game, I couldn't even, they all roll into one at this point, like I couldn't tell you. But yeah, my first game would have been against the Scotland team, against the boys kind of a few years older than me, making that squad before they would have went to, I'm assuming they would have been going to conference, and then, yeah, I was getting
How did it feel?
Oh, I was hooked. like I'd always loved hockey. Like it's just like I never enjoyed anything else as much, and I'd always kind of looked up at the Sharks as being where I wanted to be, and then yeah, you got that first call up, and it's totally different. Junior hockey is nothing like senior hockey, and they didn't take it seriously looking back, but I didn't care. Like I was buzzing. I got to pull on a Sharks shirt for the first time, and yeah, loved it. I knew that was it. I was never giving up. I'd be wearing it again.
Living the dream, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Scott, what about yourself?
I think mine was against Sutton. From what I can remember from that, there was a few teams I think I played against that season. I'm sure it was Sutton with my first game. Just the same as Struan, really. Like I'd grown up watching the Sharks from when I was young, and just that's what I'd wanted to do since I was young. I wanted to play for the Sharks, so getting that chance to play for them, it's what I wanted to do. So it was unreal.
I actually think my first game might have been against a North Air team, and for some crazy reason, we played them in a 5-game series. Like, I don't remember the league structure, like I was young, but we played North Air 5 games, kind of like they did in the NHL, obviously a bit shorter. We beat them in 3, and then the third game, it just turned into a riot. And no naming names, but I do remember somebody javeling a stick off the bench at somebody who had hit one of our guys from behind. It's never the goals you remember, it's the javelin sticks off the bench that really stick in the memory.
Okay, fantastic. Well, you mentioned NHL there, and the next question was from a fan who said, what are your favourite NHL teams and why do you like them?
Scott, you can answer that because I don't think I have any.
My favourite team's Tampa Bay Lightning. Just really when I was, I think I was about 10 at the time, I went on holiday with my family to Florida, and Mum and Dad had surprised me with a game, with a Tampa Bay game, and just because it was the first NHL game I went to, I just started to support them, and I have done ever since, really.
Oh, you had a good season last year, certainly.
Yeah.
Struan, you going to mention anybody, or are you just like?
I've never had an emotional connection. The only team I suppose I like players more.
Yeah.
I prefer looking at individuals rather than a team. I don't have a connection to any real city or anything. Although the LA Kings, when they first won the cup in the kind of modern era, with I think they won every away game. Like they did it in the least amount of games or something. It was crazy with Jonathan Quick in there. They won me £100 in a bet that I had a sweepstake on it. Hey, if there's any reason, that's one. But I'd rather look at individual players, and I suppose I was kind of growing up with the Crosby Ovechkin either. I'd probably rather look at them and the Patrick Kanes and Jonathan Toews and stuff.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Scott, you got a favourite NHL player?
Really, it's been Steven Stamkos, just simply because of Tampa Bay and just the superstar that he is, really, like his ability to score goals and stuff like that. And then with being a Tampa Bay fan, it just kind of came naturally that he was my favourite player.
Nice. Great. The next question was for Struan, and it's from Brittany. Brittany Ray. She's asking, how does it feel to be captain and having to keep everyone motivated?
I mean, I love it. Like, it's the easiest job in the world. You don't have to do anything. Like it's there's no, like, I'm not like a motivational speaker or anything like it. It's just not me. Like, I would try and just do my thing on the ice. Like I've learned from like Alan Crane and Mark Gallagher and Rooster and stuff. Like, they were the captains when I was growing up, and like the biggest thing was it was what they did rather than what they said. So there's not a lot to be said. And with the teams we build these days, the guys that are coming in to work hard and prove a point. Like, they don't need me chirping in the ear. Like, I'm more likely to have a quiet word with somebody if they're down. Like, it's more individual. Like, I'm not one for. I'll do it if I have to, but I don't like it. The kind of talking group stuff. But I love it. I've always been a Sharks fan. It's my home team, so it kind of, when I first got it, I was thrilled. Nothing kind of compares. There's when you have that much love for a club and you want to see it succeed, to be given that respect by the coach and the rest of the guys, it means a lot.
Great. That's really good. Really good. Right, the next question is from a Mr. Ross Murray. Goodness knows who he is. So Peanut asked, what's your best memory of ice hockey, but not on the ice? So it can be something that's happened in a game. So that's a tricky question, that one, I think. But yeah, Peanut's asked that.
We had a few, me and Peanut are good friends, known each other for a lot of years, and unfortunately a lot of them aren't broadcastable. Chalmers and Spud and Galley and all these old boys they'll know the stories he's alluding to. Unfortunately, it's a family show and I can't really dive into them too much, but the best ones are when you get these weekends away. They don't happen too often now, but when you do manage to get a double header away, sucks for the fans at home that have to miss Saturday night hockey, but we're away on a bus and we're bonding and you're playing cards, you're having a beer after the game, and that's when things really get close and you really start to appreciate how much you enjoy hanging about with the guys. It's hard to pick one moment. I think what we've been really lucky over the years where everybody that comes in, there's not really been anybody that hasn't fit in, whether they've come from England, Scotland, Ireland, Slovakia, New Zealand. They've all fit in and they're good guys. Hockey players are generally good people. You've got that common ground and very quickly you become good friends.
Good answer. Scott, what about yourself? Best moment in ice hockey, but not on the ice?
I mean, it's basically just what Struan said. It's not so much one memory. It's just the time with the boys. Just like you said, going away on the bus, even before and after games, before and after trainings, just sitting in the room, talking to each other, telling stories, having a laugh, messing about. It's especially just now, when we can't go out and see people, that's the thing that I'm missing about it. As obviously I'm missing being on the ice and stuff, but it's the time with the boys that I'm really missing. I mean, there's like Struan said, we've always had a good bunch. Whoever comes fits in, and there's never any problems. It becomes more like a family than a team. It's just everybody's good mates, and you have a good time with each other.
That's great. Thank you for that. We got another question in, and this was for you, Scott, and it was, who assisted your first goal and what does he mean to you?
Yeah, well, that would be the one and only Stevie Adams.
That's amazing, because it was a guy called Stevie Adams who asked this question. I
do remember the goal as well. Stevie's one of those guys that he might not have the most impact on the ice, but he is just a team guy. He's great in he's just great with the team. He's funny, has a laugh, and it doesn't feel right without him. He brings the team together, and it's just a good laugh with him, really.
Great, thank you for that. That was kind of all the questions, apart from one really, really cheeky one from Mr. Gary Russell, who posted it all over Facebook, which basically said, can Struan eat a steak bake in two bites? I don't know if you want to answer that one, Struan, but he's wanting a video of it if that's available.
I'm sure Rusty was there. We've tried this firsthand. Didn't happen. I tried. I think 3 is achievable. You've got to make sure the temperature's right.
Well, you've clearly thought about this. This is impressive stuff.
There, yeah.
It makes it a big discussion.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, who doesn't?
Who doesn't? Listen, that's the end of all the questions for the fans that have taken the time to write into us. So thanks to everyone who submitted questions. That's really appreciated. And thanks especially to yourself, Struan, and to yourself, Scott, for taking the time to talk with us and giving some really great answers to some of the questions. I've really enjoyed chatting with you guys. And it's clear the Sharks have got a great team on and off the ice. And there's a lot of care and a lot of love for everybody. And the fans are missing the Sharks like anything. I know that. Hopefully it'll not be too long before we're back on the ice and we're back there watching you guys do what you do. Struan, every game you have a wee wander up the middle of the ice and take a shot. Love these wee bits. You just go all the way. And Scott, you're fantastic, absolute fantastic striker. Forward, sorry. Okay, thank you very much for your time. And very last question before we go, the one that I've asked everybody. What tune do you want Craigie to play when you're first back on the ice? No rubbish mind.
Why? I didn't know this question was coming.
No. I think that. If you'd have watched the interviews, I asked this question at every interview, so you're going to have to get that one sorted.
Scott, you go.
Scott, you got one?
I don't know about first play when we come back, but one that brings me back memories of the team and stuff is was it Like a Prayer by Madonna. That was our win song the year that we won the treble, and it just makes me think of the team and the success that we had as well.
Brilliant. So the next time we're in an overtime situation, Craigie's putting that on just before we go out. Right, sorted. Struan, you got anything?
Yeah, I'd probably have to go with that, because the one I'd want to say, there's no way he could play it over a public announcement system in a family-friendly building.
Yeah, I know what that'll be.
Yeah, there's... God, what did we have? Yeah, Madonna Like a Prayer was good. When we sung that when we won the treble down in Sheffield, that was pretty special. I probably have to my Madonna.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, guys. Totally appreciate speaking to you and your time.
No worries. Cheers.
Cheers.